Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scribo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So we're going to look at the week ahead. That is the week of April 18th, I think, or the 17th to the 23rd. So let's take a look. We're going to pull up. This. We're going to take a look from this point right here. Okay, so we're in the fourth week of April. And we start with Sunday. Actually, today is Monday the 18th. This was supposed to come out yesterday, but it was Easter, and decided to just enjoy my Easter dinner instead of do a video. So on Sunday the 17th, we have Mercury make a sextile to Venus. Mercury and Venus are both astronomically located between the Sun and the Earth. And so the relationship between the Sun and Venus and their interactions are different than the relationship between those planets and the planets, any planet outside the orbit of Earth. So we have a tendency of these planets sort of making sextiles to each other and then going a little bit further and then coming back. And so really the only aspects that can be made between these two planets, major aspects anyway, is the sextile. And so we will see these occasionally during the year as these two planets interact with each other. And Venus is the planet of relationship. It's the planet of love. It's the planet of what our values are and what's important to us. And of course, Mercury is the planet of communication. Now, they are both in Venus, signs influenced by Venus. Taurus is a Venus ruled sign, and in Pisces, Venus is in its exaltation. So this is this connection between these two planets in these sort of very Venusian or Venusian, that's the word, energies, especially sort of come to this energy of love and relationship, and in the case of Pisces, compassion, and in the case of Taurus, it was sort of really boots on the ground kind of practical application of these principles of love. So we look at these two planets in this aspect, and we say, let's talk it over. Where can we agree? Where do we disagree? Where can we work it out, right? And that's sort of the energy that we question ourselves on Easter, right? Or on Easter Sunday, at least for the Christian holiday. And we also had, which is interesting, we had Ramadan, Christmas, and not Christmas, Ramadan, Easter. Did I say Christmas? Sorry about that. And Passover, like all come together on this Sunday. And there was violence in Jerusalem. There's violence in America, South Carolina, to be specific, a couple of large mass shootings going on. Of course, the Ukraine, how can we, talk about it without that? And then to all other places on the planet where we see this just unbridled aggression towards each other. And some of it is state sponsored and some of it is not. A lot of well, certainly the attacks in America with the mass shootings, there was a lot of teenagers connected to that mass shooting. So there's this energy of the youth not necessarily really knowing how to handle the situation, right? In a way. So on Monday, the 18th, which is today, we have Mercury make a conjunction to Uranus that occurs at 14 degrees of Taurus. This is the start of a synodic cycle between Mercury and Uranus. And it's especially important because Mercury and Uranus are related to each other. Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet associated with how we take in information. It's the planet associated with our logical lower mind, what we use to both come to understand our environment and then how we name that environment. And then we have Uranus, and Uranus is considered the higher octave of Mercury. So it has that mentally stimulating energy, but the energy goes beyond the boundary that Saturn creates. Saturn is is our three-dimensional understanding, or our understanding of time, our understanding of that there is a limit. Limits. Saturn always talks about limits and where our limits are. But when we're dealing with Uranus, we go beyond those limits. And so this is an opportunity for us to bring in really sort of more galactic energy into the energy of our minds, and opens us up to different ideas and new ideas, and also can open us up to some instability. Uranus brings in that energy of instability. Now, this is all occurring at the 14th degree of Taurus, and the Sabian symbol for 14 degrees of Taurus is on a beach. Children play while sailfish grope at the edge of the water. The keynote here is returning to the simpler joys for revitalization, and the key word here is live and let live. Now, that to me sounds like the perfect antidote to what we've experienced over this Easter holiday weekend, and the current situation sort of all over the world. Live and let live. This is the start of the synodic cycle between our individuated unconscious, which is Uranus. Uranus holds within it our past, our future possibilities, and our past lives. It is a planet associated with, illumination or enlightenment, usually through some sort of traumatic incident. So there's plenty of that, right? But it's the start of synodic cycle between our individuated unconscious and our conscious mind. So what happens is that our conscious mind becomes seeded with a new idea from Uranus. This is the planting of the seeds of wisdom that need to be explored. So what's the wisdom that needs to be explored? Live and let live. How do we interact with each other and allow each other their agency and their ideas, and live in peace through that? Can we do that? Can we, and to a certain extent, agree to disagree? Can we just mind our own business to a certain extent? Oh my goodness. Out of the box ideas, remembering the past lives experience come up as anxiety. So this can be a time when we feel extraordinarily anxious. We can get triggered easily because of that Uranian energy. Now, if you look at the chart on the right here, we can see that we have this conjunction of Mercury and Uranus right here. It is close to, within, about 9 degrees of the North Node. So it's activating that North Node. On the other side here, we have the moon. And the moon on the South Node is bringing up the emotions of the past. We have to also remember that as we look at this, Saturn is square the nodes here. And the resolution node for Saturn, now Saturn is the structure in Aquarius of a more egalitarian society. How do we get there? How do we get to the stability that this Taurus North Node is asking us to get through? We have to go back to the past. We have to examine the past. We have to face the shadow. And then we can move forward into a place of stability. We have to look at we have to take responsibility as individuals and as countries as to what we have wrought. What is our place in this? It's very easy to say that, somebody like Trump or somebody like Putin or somebody like I don't know, the shooters and these mass shooters are the evil ones, and it's all their responsibility. But we're all in this together, guys, and we all bear a certain amount of responsibility. And if not direct responsibility, we definitely have the responsibility to understand what's going on and why things are going on. And we need the healing. We need the healing. And with if we look also today, Monday, we have Venus making a waning sextile to Uranus. So we have this Venus Mercury interaction with the sextile, which opens the lines of communications, helps us share our understanding. Then we have Mercury make a conjunction to Uranus. And now we have Venus making the sextile to Uranus as well. Now, this Venus-Uranus sextile is actually part of a synodic cycle that began last year. So this is actually, we're coming to a culmination of this cycle. This is the point in the cycle where we have an opportunity, capital O, big giant O, to move in a more progressive direction, to create that egalitarian society. This synodic cycle began on April 22nd in 2021. That was Earth Day, when we had Venus and Uranus make a conjunction at 11 degrees of Taurus. Now they are going to be making a conjunction. I believe it's happening in May, where they will come together to conjoin again. And so we'll have another opportunity to start a new cycle. But at this cycle that we've come to, this sort of fruition cycle, to this opportunity for progressive change, was one that began last year. And the Sabian symbol at that time was a woman watering flowers in her garden. The development of the powers of the mind on which ego consciousness is based. This is an opportunity to apply our evolving values, to make change in the world so that we can move into a fairer, egalitarian, and democratic future. So I can really only speak from my place, from what I'm feeling. I mean, I can, talk about what my understanding of the cycles are, but my own personal experience of this weekend was, it was a very, very difficult weekend. And I was surrounded by love. I was being taken care of. I made connections to family and friends that mean a lot to me. And so I felt the love and the connection. And yet there was this sense of, how much longer do we really have to do this before we realize that we don't have to do this anymore? And it's important for us to hold the vision. It's important to us to hold the vision as we face the past, because that's the key here. We're not going to move forward until we face the past. And what we're seeing now and what's in our face is the old paradigm. And we must see it as that and take responsibility for it. And then we can move on. But we're in the process. So as difficult as this is, we have to know in our heart of hearts that we're moving in the right direction and that things are getting better. And because we have so much focus on the terrible things, sometimes we miss the beautiful things. And there are a lot of beautiful things happening out there. There's a lot of things coming to fruition. There's a lot of the first Black woman in the Supreme Court. We finally have a federal anti-lynching law. We finally have the Violence Against Women Act. Now, yes, there are plenty of these crazy laws that are attacking women's right to do with her body what she feels she can do or she needs to do with her body. And a lot of these laws are very misogynistic. They're saying, well, it doesn't matter that you got raped. It doesn't matter that it was incest. You're gonna incest, sorry. You're gonna have that baby. It doesn't really matter it doesn't matter what you want in your life. If somebody has, feels the right that they can impregnate you with their sperm, you're gonna have that baby. What's the difference between that and Vladimir Putin bombing Mariupol? What's the difference? There is no difference, really. Not really. And so we have to, this is all this stuff coming up is the past, rearing up its head for us to see and to resolve and to move forward. This is the last gasp of the patriarchal energy. It is the last gasp. And so it's really intense. And one of the things that let me go back, actually. I want to just show you something. Why I say that. If we look at this chart right here, is this the one I want to look at? Actually, no. Sorry. It's actually forward. I want to go. It's this one. And this is also happening today. As the sun makes a first quarter square to Pluto, this is occurring at 29 degrees of Aries and Capricorn. That is those are the last, almost the last degree of those two signs. Both those signs are season starting signs. Both those signs are signs of initiation. And Pluto, which is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, has been in Capricorn since 2008. And so this, the next time these two make a first quarter square, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius. So this crisis in action is actions that need to be taken really around what have we sort of learned and garnered from the last, oh God, I have to do math in my head. 2008, 2012, 2022. How many years has that been? Sorry, guys, I can't do that in my head. 16 years, is it now? Sorry for the math. Just ignore it if it's wrong. So this particular square that we have today at 29 degrees, sun at 29 degrees of Aries. So the sun in its exaltation in Aries, right? At the very, very end, tomorrow, the sun moves into Taurus, which we'll look at. But this is really, this energy of Capricorn and Aries is an energy, a crisis in action for survival, for our very survival. And so we feel this soul deep. This is a soul deep thing. This particular cycle, of which we're at the first quarter square, the crisis in action square, was planted on January 16th of 2022 at 27 degrees of Capricorn. It says a pilgrim's climbing steep slopes leading to a mountain shrine, this ascent of the individualized conscious to the highest realizations reached by the spiritual leaders of its culture. And the keyword here is upreaching. Can you take action from a space aligned with your highest spiritual realizations? And we can see here, here's the square, here's the sun squaring Pluto. You know, Pluto in Capricorn is above down, hierarchical, you know, the very, very powerful at the time. This is the plutocracy, guys. This is in a way the height of the plutocracy. But Pluto is moving into Aquarius. And so this is really, in a way, the last gasp. But it is that power over, and it is the way that it's always been. And we ask ourselves, when is this going to end? It's going to end when we realize that it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. This is a paradigm we no longer have to invest in. It's time to invest in the new paradigm. But it is important. It is an important time because we really have to see how bad it can get and how terrible it is and how we don't really want that anymore. And I think there are many people who feel that way. There are many people caught up in the whole are caught up in the drama of this, and in actuality, like in, you know, people fighting the war, no matter where it is. And then there are those of us who don't necessarily have to fight it physically, but we need to witness it and bear witness to it. And in a certain, on a certain level, if you ask me, it's our responsibility as people who are not, you know, holed up in basements in Mariupol, starving, and who knows how many people are dead. We don't have to physically go through that. We do emotionally go through it and come to an understanding of how to do it better, how to do it differently. And that's really, I think, what we are experiencing at this time. We remember that Saturn is square the nodes. Again, we must review the past. We can see the moon here. The moon's the moon through everything that's been happening today has been hanging around that south node. And that's bringing the past up. That is mucking out the stalls. We're mucking out the stalls, guys. And now it's time to take what we've mucked out of the stalls and create fertilizer to grow something better and new. We still have Neptune and Jupiter conjunct in Pisces, that flowing energy of healing. But it's also sorrow. It's also, you know, awash in tears. Uranus conjunct Mercury, a new way of thinking about things. So we are on the cusp, people. We are on the cusp. And this is when it's craziest. So don't lose heart. And I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you guys. Believe me, this has not been easy. For somebody who lives, you know, in her beautiful garden, in her beautiful house, in a blue dot, in a blue state, you know, where women have the right to choose, you know, we don't have somebody bombing overhead. It's the ideal place to live a beautiful life for somebody like me. And yet it doesn't stop me from suffering the pain of what I see in the world. Bearing witness to that and knowing deep in my heart that there's another way. We have to hold that light, folks. When I say shine your light, this is the light I speak of, the light of truth, the light of love, the light and the truth that we are all in this together and that we are connected. And what we do to the least of us, we are doing to ourselves. It is time to learn to love ourselves. Chiron and Aries. To accept ourselves. And to know that it's not through the destruction of the other that we are empowered. The understanding that the other is us and we are the other. And there is no separation. On the 19th, which is tomorrow, Tuesday, we have the sun ingressing into Taurus. Now, this is going to bring a little bit, that Aries energy is very, can be very anxiety producing because there's this need to do something. We have to do, when was that? When are people going to do something? We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. You're doing it. So the sun moves into Taurus at 1 degree, a clear mountain stream, the pure, uncontaminated, doesn't that sound wonderful, and spontaneous manifestation of one's own nature. Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So I always like to see what Venus is doing when the sun moves into, or any planet really moves into a sign. I think it's an important indication because it gives an overlay of the type of energy that as the sun moves through Taurus, that we're going to also come to either understand or feel or need to learn from, right? And so we have Venus at 16 of Pisces. Remember, Venus is exalted in Pisces. So this is a very powerful time. Now, Venus is exalted in Pisces, but Venus doesn't spend very much time in Pisces. It moves through Pisces very quickly. And so while that Venus in Pisces is just like, oh, it's like a bomb for the soul. It's a bomb for the soul that has a very sort of short span right here, but with the sun moving into Taurus and bringing forth that Venus energy, we can continue to have that Venus and Pisces energy move, longer than actually Venus is in Pisces. So we have 16 degrees of Pisces. In the quiet of his study, a creative individual experiences a flow of inspiration. Reliance upon one's inner source of inspiration or guidance. And so that's what we need. We need to go within. We need to find that. We must have faith in our own subjective strength. And whatever you need to do to hold on to that. For me, it was a matter of connecting with family, just talking to people on the phone, reaching out to people that were important to me, just making connections. And Michael and I spent Easter by ourselves in our home. He made a beautiful dinner. I knew it was going to be delicious. We have, most of our marriage, gone other places. Right? We've either had the responsibility of my mother or this family or that family, always going places. This time we decided to stay at home and to enjoy Easter together. Neither one of us are particularly religious, but we are highly spiritual. And this is a time of love and nurturance. And that's pretty much what we did yesterday, to reestablish the core of love and connectedness between us and our home and our environment, and then reaching out to family and friends to know that we're not alone in this world. We're not alone. We are in this together, folks. And we must have faith. We must have faith. And again, we can see with the sun moving into Taurus here, we still have Uranus and Mercury, although it's a little bit further away. We can see Mercury is moving to that north node. Eventually in the summer, Uranus is going to be moving onto that north node. We still have Saturn square the nodes, of course. That's going to go on for months. But we can see here that we are in the midst of a great change. And it's important to come from a place of come from a place of a deep understanding of love and connectedness. So that's really the big things that are happening this week. There are things, of course, happening through the week, but none of these big shifts. And if you want a daily to know what's happening daily, just check out my dailies. So I will be back again next week when we go over the last week of April, which is rounded off by an eclipse. Eclipse season begins on the 30th of April. So we will talk about that. We will I'll be doing some readings this week, some tarot readings. I know you guys like those. I've just been personally having to come to terms with my feelings about things and what's going on in the world. And I wanted to come from a place of poise instead of overwhelming sadness or I just needed the time, we all need the time. So I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank the other readers out there who I know are also having challenges, both emotionally and physically and medically in some cases. This is a very challenging time to be empathic. And don't forget and most of the people who watch us generally are like us. So don't forget that you need to take the time for yourself and make sure that you have that oxygen mask on before you go out and take on the world. Have yourself a great week. Like, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Thank you for all your comments and all your love and your donations. Always gratefully appreciated. Have yourself a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next week. Namaste, everyone. Love you.